better call me a doctor. Feeling no pain. Overloaded down the drain. Somebody get me a doctor. You better call up the ambulance. I'm deep in shock. This is the Community Solutions Podcast. Jason Bradley, Andrew Richter from deep in the bowels of our underground lair. I have a piece of paper somewhere with that on it.
Where
am I again?
I can see outside, though. I can see outside.
That's an illusion.
We had that, what do you call it, when the clocks go forward, when I lost an hour of all the sleep I already don't get.
Me too.
Not getting much lately,
No.
Jay. It's just...
Me neither.
I don't think I'm going to get any for next 40 years or so either. I'm just spitballing that.
Yeah, that's about right.
What was the song again? Because I've heard that before.
Have you? Somebody get me a doctor from Van Halen.
You said from Van Halen. I didn't even
Yeah.
get a chance to guess.
Oh, well, you asked me what it was. Sorry.
And I said, what was the song, not who sung it.
Oh, sorry.
All right, I'm going to give myself a quarter of a point for that because
really?
I might have gotten that.
Really?
Yeah, isn't that Van Halen? They're kind of like there's that one guy named Eddie,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Is Van Halen the band or is that him?
Well, both.
Okay.
And the drummer, Alex, his brother.
Oh, is his brother?
Yeah.
Can't have a brother in a band.
Yeah, you can. Look at,
Who? What?
the Nelson brothers, Ricky Nelson's kids.
AC/DC? Are they?
Yeah. Malcolm and Angus. Yep.
Angus.
Yep. Hey, they're Australian.
They make good burgers.
Okay.
Isn't Angus a woman's name?
No.
It's not.
It's a Scottish
What
name.
am I thinking of then?
Agnes.
Yeah, same difference.
Agnes and Angus.
I thought
are
it was
different.
Agnes.
No.
Agnes Young or something, right?
ANG versus AGN.
Oh, God. Details.
ANGUS versus AGNES. Details. What'll it get you?
Agnes. All right, fine. So what if Agnes married Angus?
I don't know. They have a confusing household.
They'd go by AA or something. I don't know.
Arn Anderson?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Hope they didn't look like.
They didn't
They look like
Arn
him
Anderson.
and Tully Blanchard. I hope not. Maybe combined, they'd have half a head of hair.
Yeah.
All right, Jay.
Yes.
Some interesting news over the last couple of days. The first candidate for governor jumping in the race. Did
Already?
you hear that?
No, I did not.
Dr. Scott
Oh,
Jensen jumping
okay.
in last weekend.
Saw something about him. I didn't bother to read all of it.
What's your take on him? I'm just kind of curious about, because he's gotten a lot of interesting flack for factually trying to figure out COVID deaths, which I find funny that nobody cares whether or not the reporting's accurate or whether people really died of COVID or with COVID, or people struck by lightning who tested positive for COVID are considered COVID deaths.
Right.
No one seems to care. Mm-hmm. And if you investigate it, then you're a whack job, or you're that's kind of how he's been portrayed. And if you actually watch his videos, I mean, what he's like on other issues, I don't really know.
I've seen him in interviews, but on that issue, he seems to be good. Seems to be fulfilling the duty of somebody in a minority party with COVID. That's about all I can say. I don't know where he stands on the omnibus bills. I don't know where he stands.
He's not in the Senate anymore.
Right.
He didn't run for another term. So.
Right.
But my question becomes, forget Dr. Jensen for a second. Why is it that questioning COVID deaths, you'd think that people would be relieved to know that less people are dying from COVID than we thought, less people than are being reported. Some states are actually going back and cleaning this up. Mm-hmm. Wisconsin for last Saturday, March 13th, reported -2 COVID deaths.
Wow.
Because they're one of the states going back and trying to, clean up what was a COVID death and what was, not, because the way they're counting them, and this is pretty universal, is that if you get a positive test and die within 60 days for any reason, you are classified as a COVID death, which of course you don't do with anything else on the face of the earth.
Right.
So that lends itself to inaccurate counting. And Florida's a state that's gone back and is trying to, I'm sure Minnesota isn't, but if somebody tests positive for COVID and they get struck by lightning 30 days later, how in the world are you a nutcase for looking and saying, well, that really was not a death caused by COVID. The person was probably recovered from it,
right,
and had an accident.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the modus operandi of the left, though, isn't
but
it?
Why?
I mean,
what is
because they have to get people to believe their COVID narrative in order for them to maintain their control over people. If they lose control over people, that means all of the stuff they're trying to do goes in the crapper.
Yeah, but they already have control over people.
Yeah?
They've got control over our federal government. They've got control over half the states. I mean, all of the big cities. I mean, they've already got control. They had control before COVID of a lot of this stuff. They control academia. They control, I mean, the idea that you have to lie about COVID deaths and use people's deaths as pawns to try to, I'm so upset at our media, especially here in Minnesota, which has done an F- job of trying to get to the bottom. Why does it take shows like ours or people's YouTube videos to do what the media should be doing?
Right.
All the media does is regurgitate the stats from Walz's beauties, from the gorgeous knockouts that he puts around him. The Donna Shalala, Janet El Reno, Madeleine Albright. I didn't think anybody could outdo the Clinton administration, but Walz has done it. Okay. What don't they have a duty to do more than regurgitate what some government bureaucrats tell them?
Yes, but that's not how it's done.
Well, why?
Why? Because you
call yourselves journalists, but look, I could go out there and write a newspaper article repeating what somebody says like I'm a parrot. That doesn't take any talent.
No, it doesn't. But then they don't get the exclusive stories. They don't get the access. They don't.
Nobody listens to them anyway.
No, but they don't care. They care about feeling cool and thinking they have power because they're hanging out with government people. That's what they care about.
Boy, I'll tell you what,
having
they must be
best seats at the fancy dinners and the
all the cocktail parties.
Yeah.
Boy, that must be one rough life because sitting around government people not my idea of. I mean, sitting around pro athletes, or if you're sitting around like inventors or cool people like that, I'd love to do that. Give me a dinner with Elon Musk anytime, rather than sit down with Jan Malcolm. I mean, come on, jeez. I mean, what a joke. But back to this idea that you've got some standard, and I don't know who came up with this, but I mean, if you test positive for COVID, Jay, and you have a heart attack a month later, there is a 100% chance that is classified as a COVID death.
Yes.
So, I mean, and granted, you can get other health problems because of COVID. Mm-hmm. It can happen, but
absolutely,
whether I just think it's the death numbers are so hard to really nail down. I think we'll be trying to nail this down forever.
Yeah.
How many people actually passed away from COVID? Not because they test positive and they're 100 years old.
Right.
Okay. But it's befuddling that anybody who questions it is just called names and
Well, that should be no surprise. That's what the left does with everything. They call you names. They call you a racist.
There's plenty on the right who aren't doing it either. There's plenty on the right. There's plenty of governors. There's plenty of people in Congress who are just going along with the narrative or whatever. I mean, I don't know so much that it's all right and left. I mean, I have watched, I've pained myself to watch and listen to and follow on tweetering some people that I used to have some respect for, and they're just going right along with what they hear. 500,000 people have died. Blah, blah. They're just like watching the death count like it's a telethon.
Yeah.
And I'm just going, what?
Well, I mean, you have your establishment Republicans that they like having power as much as any Democrat, and so you have those, and you have the people who are afraid of the cancel mob, and so they don't stand up. They don't want to protest in front of their house. They don't want to be called out in the press. They don't want to have their social media shut down. I mean, and so you have cowards on one side and you have the establishment on the other, I think, with a very narrow group of people in between that actually care about liberty. And I should say there are a few, I think, in between that are just, this is unpredictable and hasn't been unpredictable. And so when you don't know exactly what to do, what do you do? Sometimes you just get paralyzed by that, and inaction, unfortunately, is what happens. Sometimes
silence is the result of, hey, it's no good if I speak out no matter what. Yeah. I speak out and I get crap from one side or the other. But when somebody is in a position, an elected position, when they're in a media position, I don't expect them to. I mean, I think they have a duty to do more than just pee in the wind and figure out which way it blows, and that's going to be their side of it. I think the establishment, whoever they are on the right, I mean, you know who I'm talking about. I don't need to name names. Are still suffering from Trump derangement syndrome, and I still think that they're not rational in how they're thinking about this. I think that there are some on the left that are not happy either, and they're afraid to speak out. I think that's where there's a lot of it, because the angst is clearly going on. And, I guarantee you the movement to recall Gavin Newsom there's not 2 million Republicans in California, okay? That's been signed by people who voted for him.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I'm not sure. I mean, you've seen it in New York where Democrats have turned on their governor there.
Yep.
I think that a lot of Dems are just, and some of them will privately say one thing. Some of them have said things to me like, geez,
yeah.
I don't know what the hell Walz is doing, but I mean, they're not real happy. So, I think that there's, and I hope that that's the case. I hope that there's some cross thinking, because I think it's dangerous to just sit here and do nothing but root for your team and the hell with the nation. And I think that that's the worst attitude you can take. But when I listen to Dr. Jensen, I don't know much about him, and I don't care who wins the Republican endorsement. I just know I'm going to get 95% of the DFL, so that doesn't make much difference to me.
Yeah.
But here's the question. The question is why. I mean, we're told that we have to follow science. We can't question doctors. We can't. Everybody's too dumb except these doctors.
Yeah.
Yet you get a doctor who doesn't follow the crowd, and that doctor is ostracized. I mean, I'm going to assume Scott Jensen knows more than anybody at WCCO.
Of course.
So why doesn't the same principle apply just because he doesn't agree with that twerp Fauci or with Osterhaus or Osterhaus or Hassenpepper or whatever his freaking name is? I mean, why is it, who, by the way, said we'd be at a calamity in early March?
Right.
He said that in January 27th. Yet, of course, guess who's all over the Sunday shows last weekend? Mike Osterhaus. Why is he all over there when he's already been wrong?
Yeah.
So I'm sure it's coming, though. We're in the eye of that hurricane, which he continues to say.
Yeah.
I do agree with him on a couple things, though, like the vaccine. We should get as many first shots in people as we can. I agree with him. But again, that boils down to the government not allowing people to do that.
Right.
I mean, seniors have had 3 months to make an appointment, and I know the internet's probably not the best place to reach those people, but
no.
But ostracizing. Look, I'm no fan of doctors. Okay, doctors and lawyers can both, get their own island as far as I'm concerned. They can sue each other and perform experiments on each other, and that's fine. But I don't understand why when somebody brings up something legitimate, like somebody testing positive for COVID and dying in a car accident 30 days later and being classified as a COVID death. Why is it kooky to question that? I mean, I just can't figure that out.
Because it doesn't fit the narrative. I mean, that's as simple as that.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, we're going to kind of, I hate to bring COVID up, but it leads into what we're talking about, which
Right.
is this quote unquote COVID relief package. I love they say the word package. I just say, it's like, I like to say privy. I just like saying privy a lot, and I don't know why.
Wow.
We're privy to a package. I mean, it's just so, this COVID relief package, which is basically and again, another issue where the media has done a horse manure job of covering, of breaking down, of explaining. It's like their duty is to just, again, regurgitate what is happening in Washington and doing nothing else.
I would say they're not even doing that. I mean, really. They sit and take pot shots at one side and let the other side get away with murder, literally and figuratively. And that's it. You know, it's not even covering what goes on in Washington. Half the time it's making things up. Half the time it's not reporting on things altogether.
Well, what I find strange is how the media all say the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
Literally.
Literally.
Like same words.
Uh-huh.
COVID surge. How many times have you heard that? You know, rescue plan. This is the rescue plan.
Yeah.
Now it's repeated by every single person. Mm-hmm. It's like, how did they all get that memo and that email? I wish I could follow the dots, connect the dots, literally.
Yeah.
Actually, if you did, it wouldn't matter. I mean, CNN, how many times have they been caught? Who's that Chrome Dome that's the head of that? Jeff Zucker. He's been caught red-handed in his own words saying, horribly partisan things and all that, and nothing happens at all.
No.
He just puts a different Chrome Dome on TV. I mean, there's no outrage at it. And you think of a company like Disney...
Oh,
and their capitulations to the woke cancel culture.
Terrible.
And yet, remember, they own ESPN,
Right.
They own ABC, they own a lot of radio stations. I mean, they're a corporate monster.
Absolutely.
They're
they
a
are.
Walmart size. They may be more dangerous because Walmart can sell underwear and sell, jock straps or whatever else. But when you own radio and television stations, I mean, look what's happened to ESPN over the last 15
say
or 20 years.
Anything and you're fired.
Well, you say anything in one direction.
Well, yeah, I mean, remember chink in the armor? I mean, that's not even what that means. And that guy was
Who is
out.
that? What was that again? I remember that, but I don't recall the circumstances.
I don't remember the name. It was a basketball announcer, and he was talking about a team, and he said their chink in the armor is such and such.
So their Achilles heel.
Their
Right.
Achilles heel. That's racist to Greeks. Lucky they're white.
Well, Kurt Schilling, the same thing happened to him. He got let go for giving his opinion when he was asked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. ESPN has all these opinion shows. They have all these shows just with a bunch of loud mouths, and whoever can talk the loudest has a show, and then they get suspended for giving their opinions. It's like, okay, well, wait a minute. I mean, if you're going to have an opinion show, you can't stand there and say, well, only this opinion's allowed or only that's, I mean, it's counter to what the whole point of it is.
But what they've done with the Muppet Show and Peter Pan and Dumbo and...
What, is Peter Pan not gay anymore?
No, I don't think that was
I jest.
Yeah. That one.
Or is that Robin?
That wasn't it.
Batman's got Robin.
Yeah.
What have they done with? I can't remember. What did you say with the Muppets or what happened?
They put warnings before some of the episodes because they're not woke enough.
Really?
Yeah. And
what's not woke about the Muppets?
I mean, you got me. I don't know.
Kermit the Frog? I mean, what?
Right.
Fozzie, is he telling some naughty jokes?
No. I mean, it's nothing like that.
I used to have a friend that looked like Gonzo.
that looked like
Yeah,
Gonzo?
we called him Gonzo.
Wow, I'd love to see that.
There's
nose.
only one.
Yeah. How do you get a nose like that? What nationality is that?
Who knows?
Yeah. That's
Don't you get it? Who knows?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's-
jeez, Jay. All right.
sorry.
We sidetracked.
Bad joke radar wasn't wasn't up.
Did you see the script? The teleprompter told you to laugh. Did you see that
Oh,
over
yeah.
there?
Uh,
You and
right next
Biden.
to
You
the,
and Biden aren't looking.
right next to the applause box there.
That's what we need on the show, a laugh track. So back to this COVID relief stuff. I think. Are you the only one? Am I the only one worried about these direct money being sent to people all the time?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
first of all, where are we getting it? I mean, I know.
well, we know where we're getting it. We're getting it out of
Printing it.
thin air. We're
Yeah.
cutting trees down. That's how we're getting it.
Uh,
But I mean, outside of that, is this a precursor? My worry is this is a precursor to universal basic income.
Yes.
That now that we've sent payments to people, now that we've suspended rent, we've suspended. I mean, this is.
yeah, we're just doing it. We're not calling it that, but that's what we're doing.
So we're. I mean, because I still think we're heading towards a recession. I don't think we've had one yet.
No.
Not a natural one.
No, I mean the one from COVID. I mean, what did it last? Just a few months, and it started to swing back.
Well, but it was because of shutdowns
Right.
and things like that. It was not because of a cyclical
Right.
thing in the economy. And if you look at our history, about every 7 to 10 years is about the cyclical
Right.
time of some sort of economics back. It's
we're
not always
overdue.
it's not always severe.
Yeah.
It's not always the
This
same.
This one will be.
Well, it could be. There's measures you can take now
Yeah.
that would stop that. But there's no appetite anywhere to do that because the
No.
first thing that has to happen is a stop in government spending.
Right.
If you don't have that, there's no way you can't spend your way. It's like
No.
It's like me. I can't go take out $1 million on my credit card to stimulate my
Right.
my.
So we're getting government money, which then goes into the economy, and then the prices of things are going to go up, and interest rates are going to come up, and we're going to have really, I feel, a bad situation because we're going to have stagflation.
Could it be though? We're so overdue for raises in the interest rates.
Yeah.
Now, keep in mind, the federal government doesn't really control that.
Right.
It's the Fed that controls monetary policy. So,
The big banks who are working with the government now because of,
because they'll get bailed out.
well, yeah.
They all know that they can lend money to anybody because at the end of the day, they'll be saved.
The Great Reset, though, they're going to be very selective about who they loan to based on the ESG scores of the individuals that come to them for loans.
So, me going to them as an individual, I'm an ESG scorer?
You will, yes. If you don't already, you will. And they're already moving toward that. Like at Merrill Lynch is assigning ESG scores to all of its customers based on their portfolio holdings. And so
if
those
I have
kinds of things are going to trickle down.
So, if I've got stock in what?
Smith & Wesson.
They're a good company.
Yeah, absolutely they
Smart
are.
to invest in
Yeah.
them. They make a good product.
They
and-
do.
Well, what's wrong with that? You think a bank would be happy because I'd have a good portfolio?
Nope.
I'd be getting a 10% return if I put money in them.
You need to invest in things like Disney because they're woke. You need to invest in things like green energy and windmills. And
Disney's a stagnant company.
Oh, absolutely.
Investing in them would
It's
be
a
like,
blue chip company. It's not going anywhere.
yeah,
They
exactly.
go up a little, down a little. It's not going anywhere.
No, they're too big to fail and they're too big to expand.
Yeah.
That's the problem with a company like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, well, do I have to disclose who I am? If I want a car loan, I don't have to go disclose as to who I'm.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Because they want to be able to work it out so that they know, and this may be part of the pre-qualification what websites do you go to? What kind of Google searches do you do? What
How are
do
they
you
going to figure
invest
that
in?
out?
They may need proof. I don't know how it's all going to work yet, but this is what they're saying. This is what they're saying.
Well, we're due for an interest rates hike, though, because the reason we don't do it is because the big banks will get bailed out. I mean, that's why. But here's the thing. The only way you can stop inflation is high interest rates, because that cuts back the borrowing, or high taxes, because that chews up the money that's been printed.
Right.
And either one, nobody wants either one. So and we have a government now that won't allow that to happen. We saw that during the housing bubble. They would not allow, people to declare bankruptcy, go through that restructure, like how companies do, whether that's GM, or whatever. It was, no, we're going to keep the same business model, weather the storm, and then go right. Look at what's happened with housing. We've gone right back. We're right at where we were 10 years ago.
Yes.
We're right there now. Housing prices are outrageous. They can't stay outrageous. If you think you're going to retire on your home, you are a fool. You're just a fool. Home is a place to live. It's not a place to make money. I hate to say that to people.
That depends. You've got to get
over
into
30 years,
rental properties. And
over 30
like that,
years, yes. But I think a lot of people, unfortunately, look at their home as to how can I make money off of this at a certain time? And that's a major problem. Mm-hmm. And we're right where we were right now. Home prices are outrageous. Interest rates are low.
Yep.
That's a recipe for a problem. And once again, no one will take action.
Right.
It just... And bills like that, what we had out of Washington, will make the problem way worse.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, way worse. I mean, you and I are going to focus a little bit on the money going to cities and counties and all that kind of stuff. But, I mean, I'm interested to see where the money going to all these school districts is. The president, before he punched out yesterday, said that he said he was mumbling. I couldn't really understand. That we're going to give money to schools so they can be open. Like, well, you don't need to give money to schools to be open.
Right.
Go down to Florida. Those schools never closed. What are you talking about? They need money to be open. What he means is that they are going to give school districts, public school districts, money.
Yep.
Regardless of what happened, regardless if they're open or not, regardless if formulas like here in Minnesota where they're losing kids left and right. So that's going to bail out that gap and keep all of the employees there.
Right.
I mean, that's really the motive. This has nothing to do with performance in the classroom.
Oh, no.
I think Biden gives a damn.
Here's some money.
Yeah,
That's all that is. It's Christmas. Or should I say a nondescript winter holiday. That's
right.
what this is.
Happy Hanukkah. It's or what's the other one? Kwanzaa?
Kwanzaa.
Kwanzaa? Happy Kwanzaa. What is it?
Kwanzaa.
Kwanzaa?
Yes.
Kwanzaa. I hate to say this too, but when I worked for Best Buy, which another kind of woke company.
Yeah.
I remember there was like an unspoken rule that you could not say Christmas for a while. When you walked into a Best Buy, you did not see the word Christmas anywhere.
If I had
unless it was on a CD, like somebody's Christmas album and it said Christmas on there,
right.
But you did not see that. And I was never told nothing, but it was unspoken. Then when the company got flack for it by the Glenn Becks and the Bill O'Reillys and the John Gibsons and people like that, then they compromised and said you could say Christmas, but we had to put everything else up there. So it was Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy, Sitting Bull Day or whatever. I don't know. It was every culture had to be represented now.
Yeah.
So it wasn't good enough then. So it was just, if you want an idea of how terrible it can be, I mean, we say Merry Christmas. So that's
Right.
So the by the way, $5 trillion we have now done in 3 bills in the last year. 5 trillion. Mm-hmm. And I wonder how much of it we actually had.
None.
I don't know if it's none. It's not much.
Oh, none.
I don't know. I mean, very little. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Very little. And I'm getting this from the great source of the Star Tribune, Jay.
Ooh, my favorite.
An estimated $5 billion will flow into Minnesota governments. So everybody's talking about their $1,400, which, of course, not everybody gets. Mm-hmm. But how about the $5 billion that the governments get? And you think you're getting $1,400? Look at what they get out of this. $2.6 billion. Now, by the way, our state just announced that we have a $1 billion surplus. Now they're getting $2 billion more.
Yeah.
So now we have a surplus. Then we're getting $2 billion of money that, of course, we borrowed from China, interestingly enough. I'm sure they're the ones buying our bonds again. I don't know why, but we never pay anything back. So why would they do? I would never invest in that. You got to be crazy, to buy bonds of a country. It's like buying Greek bonds. Why don't you just buy Greek bonds? But anyway, and everyone is giddy about it.
Yes.
Business is giddy about it. Republicans and Democrats are giddy about it. The impact of this bill is going to be seen and felt by people in Minnesota right away, and it's going to make a big difference as they're digging themselves out of what has been a really terrible public health and economic crisis, said Senator Tina Smith in an interview. It was a manufactured crisis, by the way, by you overreacting people in government. Oh, I'm sorry, did I say that? Mm-hmm. Cities across the state are already looking ahead to they're already excited. They're throwing parties. St. Cloud Mayor Dave Cleese.
Related to John Cleese.
Who's John Cleese?
Monty Python.
Is that a band?
No.
Oh, okay.
Search for the Holy Grail, Life of Brian. No.
Is that a band? I don't know who Monty Python is, no. Should I know?
Yes.
Is it a movie?
No, well, they made movies. They were an English, comedy acting troupe.
Oh.
That made some movies, had a show. Monty Python and the Flying Circus. No?
Okay.
Okay.
I'll have to wait for the movie to come out.
It did.
Okay.
Then a bunch of them.
Okay. Again, to me, pop culture is Gene Autry. All right. The city tries blah, 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 blah. The latest round of local aid, an estimated $15.7 million. Now, what in the world could St. Cloud, why would they get nearly $16 million for? Are half their cops laid off or firefighters, or are their buildings closed, behind on the credit cards? I mean, what?
No. I know they've had some, not unrest in St. Cloud, but there have been some demonstrations, and there have been some protesters at City Hall with the refugee issue, but that's about all I can think of.
Okay, but that's... Yeah, I'm scratching my head at that one. Here's the allocation.
Okay.
$2.6 billion to the state of Minnesota. I wonder what California is. Actually, I don't want to know.
Yeah.
Over $1 billion to counties. Now, for what?
Yeah.
Metro cities alone, $595.5 million. Other cities and townships, $420, and state capital projects. Didn't we just pass a $2 billion bonding bill?
Yeah.
Now they're getting another $179 million for state capital. So what is that?
Is that capital OL or AL? Sorry.
It is AL.
Okay, so that's different than Capitol.
No, not for the Capitol building.
Yeah.
It's just state. So what is that? Is that rebuilding the Science Museum or something like
Could
that?
be the Science Museum.
Well, what's that got to do with COVID?
State trooper cars, DNR boats.
No. That's well, I guess that could be because that is capital, not operating.
Right.
Because
You can't with that hire an officer, but you can buy a car.
right. And remember that they have depreciation and all
Yeah.
sort. They take advantage of all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So I mean that's $5 billion. Now 87 counties, all 87 counties will get the aid, and we live in Hennepin County, Jay, and look at what they're getting.
Most of it.
$245 million they're getting.
Wow. They're getting a quarter of it.
But I mean,
Right?
well, about 20%, yeah. But I mean, but stop and think. I mean, what is Hennepin County out from this pandemic? I mean, they weren't closed down.
No.
Okay, they weren't. I haven't heard of any mass government layoffs. So what's the? See, I think there's the perception that this bill is all about the $1,400,
Right.
and I think that's why a lot of people are for it. But if you look at what's in here, I mean, I don't understand what Hennepin County is getting $245 million to do. And there's not much info out there.
No. I mean, the only thing I can think of is putting money into that sinkhole over where I-35 meets I-94.
Well, then they're going to need another $245 million after that, and
Yeah.
another, and another, and another.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this graph here, and yeah, Hennepin County is getting like 60% more than Ramsey,
Yeah, they have double the population, I believe.
I suppose. Well,
How about
do they?
this? How about Hennepin County getting $245 million, Minneapolis getting $281 million?
Separately.
Yes. But I mean, for what?
Oh, yeah, I see that down there.
$281 million to Minneapolis?
Yeah.
We know it ain't going toward police. I mean, what's it going to do? Is it just going to fund all their woke
Yeah,
stuff?
and that's the other thing. Is it just, here's some money, do with it as you please? I mean, there's got to be some rules around it. I mean, obviously there are. You can't lower taxes with it.
Well, listen to this. You want to talk about Minneapolis?
Yeah.
Moments after the House passed the bill last Wednesday, Minneapolis City Council members gave a warm welcome to U.S. Representative Ilhan Omar, appearing at a virtual committee meeting to provide an update on immigration policies. The city is expected to get $281 million in federal aid, hopefully within a few hours. This bill will be signed, and the mayor of Minneapolis just texted me the gigantic relief they will get, said Olomar. I don't even know if I can call her a Democrat.
Well,
It's almost an insult
looks
to the
like
word.
some people did something.
Mayor Jacob Fry's office, Amber Fry, who just got done getting beaten by 3 teenage girls in arm wrestling, noted in a press release that priorities for the money range from supporting inclusive small businesses and community recovery measures to spending that will help ensure continuity of core services. Well, tell me, Amber Fry, you basically agreed to, slash the police budget. Mm-hmm. Now you're going to get a bunch of free money.
How's the murder rate
the
going?
core services. How's the carjacking going?
Yeah.
You little twerp.
How's the violent crime going for you in Minneapolis?
So they're gonna core city services. Oh, yippee! In St. Louis County, Administrator Kevin Gray outlined several areas where the projected $54 million could be spent to boost the economy, including helping small businesses hurt by shutdowns and reinstating curbed social service programs. By the way, businesses have their own thing in this.
Yes.
I mean, they're also a part of this. So, and who are you going to help? Yeah, I go back to this. Now you're going to see the favorites being played.
Right. Minority-owned businesses are going to get help.
Or businesses that are big enough to where the economy needs them. The small little barber shop and the small knitting store and the massage parlor or whatever, they're going to get squat out of this. This is where it's all going to be politically connected. Whoever's politically connected will get this money. He also said that the sprawling rural county will look to expand broadband, which also has a separate thing in this bill, by the way.
Wow. We're going to get the internet up on the Iron Range.
Well, okay, Oli. Rochester, just booming with excitement. The city of Rochester is estimated to get $17 million, which can help the city be resilient. Another one of our favorite words, said Rochester's deputy city administrator, Aaron
Resilient
Parrish.
to what? Another plague? That's what caused this in the first place. That's why they're sending this money out. So next time there's a pandemic, you're going to be able to beat it?
No, that's not what's going to happen. Here's the plan in Rochester.
Okay.
For us, this funding really allows the opportunity to address some of the disparities that we are seeing in the distribution of the vaccine.
I knew it. It's going to the Mayo, isn't it?
And as well as the impacts with job loss and other things with COVID, Parrish said. So once again, we're going. What do you mean disparities with the vaccine? Somebody's a certain age gets it first. There's no sign that says whites only.
Nope.
People over 65 account for 92% of the deaths.
Yeah.
That's why they're getting the vaccine first, you moron.
And they should.
You spasticated idiot. Maybe if you could read, Mr. Parrish, you'd know that. There's no disparity. If you're 66 and you're black, you can get the vaccine just as much as if you're 66 and white.
Yep.
Freaking moron. In the northwestern suburb of my adopted hometown of Plymouth.
How you really feel about.
Well, I mean, I'm tired of this narrative that the virus is racist. I mean, you know, first off, it's a false narrative. I mean, it's hitting communities of color more, and that's true. But why?
Because they're stacked on top of each other.
And because of the shutdowns.
Yes.
Because the shutdowns are hurting the service industry, and they're hurting industries like that where there are a lot of Hispanics work in that industry. There's a lot of, cooks and cleaners. And I mean, I know I'm being very general here, but unemployment among blacks is higher, but there's other reasons that they are less likely to graduate from high school. I mean, there's a whole host of reasons why this is happening.
They make it sound like white people are driving it into the lower income areas and dropping it off on the corner.
Yeah, I mean, you've got riots going on in these cities. What are you supposed to do for an employee who was working at a place that was destroyed in a riot? Yeah. Go walk down Minneapolis. They're everywhere.
Everywhere.
So, I mean, go into Seattle and in Portland. And then you try to do that to play the victim? Yeah. I mean, come on. It's government incompetence that's caused this. We'll read on.
Okay.
My adopted hometown of Plymouth. City manager Dave Callister, admitted the city was still looking for more definition. It's a little gray, a little fuzzy as to what's qualified and what isn't. Oh, well, trust me, you'll know pretty quick because nobody in Plymouth's going to turn the money down. So,
my word.
And of course, what's really, I think, I don't know why I'm disappointed, but is all the businesses getting handouts. Now, look, I realize some of these businesses were shut down, but the way to fix that is to not get a handout from government. The way to fix this is to be open and be, booming as an economy. That's the way to fix this, not to stand there and wait for a check to arrive that came from an IOU.
Right.
economic situation can only succeed if the vaccination program succeeds in getting businesses to operate at full capacity. Noted Charlie Weaver, director of the Minnesota Business Partnership. You're wrong, Mr. Weaver. The vaccination program is not shutting down that. Your governor is.
Yes.
And we still have no criteria, no metrics that are known to when this is going to stop. We already have a quarter of the people with at least one shot, 80% almost of seniors, and we still refuse to reopen.
Mm-hmm.
So it's when is that going to happen? It's not going to happen because you get a handout from Washington. You're getting handouts. You got the PPP program. You got a handout in December. You got a handout from the state. You're getting another one now.
Yep.
And it has had nothing to do with you reopening. It's the foot of the jackass in St. Paul. That's what's going on. Am I burying myself enough here?
You're not making friends today, Andrew.
Yeah, that's all right. No, I don't want them as friends. The restaurant rescue is something Hospitality Minnesota's been advocating for over a year, said Liz Rammers, the group's president. It would be a critical tool for reinvigorating our economy and helping our restaurants, lodging, leisures, blah, 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 dig out from an economic hole. No. That's the exact opposite view of what you should say.
Well, when you're talking about like the takings clause and the government took the livelihood of these people, yes, I think the government owes businesses. The government owes businesses money.
Okay, again, there's a right and a wrong way, though, to do that.
Right.
Well, if they owe them money, I got an idea. How about you cut their taxes for a year?
I'm all for that.
How about you say,
you don't owe any income tax.
Exactly. Free liquor license for next year.
Mm-hmm.
You want to make an improvement? No permits.
Yep.
That's the right way to do this.
And a city could do that.
A city can do it. The state can do it. The county can do it. The feds can do it.
Yep.
But no, it's run to them and ask for free. Now, look, I sympathize with the restaurant, bar, hotel, and that's big in Minnesota. I mean, tourism.
Yep.
I mean, it's one of the big, there's entire cities. And if you don't get out of the cities much, I know you do, but I mean, for people who don't, I mean, you're from up north.
Yeah.
There's entire cities, entire counties that are dependent on hunting season, fishing season, camping season.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. They shut them down. However, like I said, there's a right and a wrong way to go about to take my money, send it to Washington, pay all the bureaucrats, send it to the city, pay all the bureaucrats, send it all to what's left to a business after the fact.
Right.
Okay, is the exact wrong merry-go-round to do. But like we just said, I mean, there are ways we can make this. How about cutting the gas tax?
Yeah.
With gas rising in price, how about we take a 2-month tax holiday? Because that cost gets passed on to all of the people who need supplies and need beer and wine, and they need, all the things that they need. How about we, give them an income tax break for 6 months or something? So, I mean, that's the way to fix this. Okay?
Absolutely. I think that's a great idea.
And of course, knowing how to fix it and what the government does, strange how they do the exact opposite.
Right.
But I think the industry cheerleading for it just ensures that this is the norm now.
Mm-hmm.
Something happens now, a tornado hits a city, and the whole recovery is all about handouts. It's not about, okay, we want your economy to get back on its own.
Yeah.
And you need a little bit of money to get that started. Here, what else we're going to do? We're going to give you incentives to get back on your feet. Not sitting in line waiting for, I know that sounds harsh, but are dependent, the individuals and businesses look to government to solve or bail them out of everything. And that mentality is everywhere. It's on the left, it's on the right, it's everywhere.
Yeah, and I differentiate a little bit. I mean, when you're looking for a bailout because your business practices stink or there's a downturn in the economy, then your business acumen should kick in, and you should figure out how to navigate those waters. When the government says you can't open your business, you can't work, you can't do anything except just wait it out. There's no business plan in the world to help figure that out.
And I agree
and that's
with that.
where when you have to pay employees, when you have to take care of their health insurance, when you have to pay your lease, forget about making a profit or forget about those kinds of things in a time like this. But to be able to take care of those things to make sure you don't shut your doors forever, the government does have a responsibility in that because they shut it down. I
do. I agree with that. But again, I go back to government shouldn't be able to shut it down.
Absolutely.
And the idea that they can, now the norm is something happens, the government can pick and choose winners and losers. One person can do it on whatever data or anything that they want to, and we'll figure it out at the end. In the end, everybody will get a bunch of free money. In fact, the PPP program, like we talked about, is taxed.
Yeah.
In the state of Minnesota. Now, the Senate passed something to not make that tax. The House didn't take it up.
Of course not.
So now that money's going to get...
So they're hurting businesses.
So their
all the businesses they so want to help.
Right. Their aid is now getting taxed. So, you sit there and you talk about how dishonest this whole thing is. Aid to a business that's closed is getting taxed? The House should be ashamed of themselves. You think the Fonz is ashamed of himself?
Oh, no.
Think that
He's
prick cares
strutting
at all?
around and crowing about it. Preening around with no hairs out of place.
Exactly. I just want to mess his hair up. I want to take. You know what I want to do? I want to. You know what I want to do to Winkler? I want to put him in a chair. I want to tie him up. I'm going to put
rub a balloon on his head and
rub a balloon on his head, and then I'm gonna do like what they did in Biloxi Blues. I'm gonna shave his head right down the middle. It's right down. In fact, you know what I'm gonna do? I want to only shave it like half. Dye it white. He'll have a skunk head. That's what I want to see. I want a neo skunk haircut. That's what I want. So, maybe I'll leave him there for a few months or something. Like I said, I sympathize with the bar restaurant industry, but what they should be doing, they should organize and defeat every single person, Republican or Democrat, who supported the shutdowns, who is not on a city or county level doing things like what we talked about tax holidays, about liquor license holidays. They should be defeating every single person from the governor on down, whether they're Democrat, Republican, I don't care. That's what they should be doing. Yep. Not running there whining for handouts, even though they're right. It's the wrong solution. To me, to take your time sitting down with the governor, begging him to open like he's Henry VIII.
The problem is when you do open, he sends his goons out there, and you get fined $10,000 a day or whatever, and it's
something like that.
It's insane.
You're basically out of business.
Yeah.
Minnesota farmers, Jay, you'll know, will benefit from a portion of the $3.6 billion national fund dollars that lets the U.S. Department of Agriculture buy commodities from American farmers to stock food banks. So let me say that a different way. We're going to buy food that people aren't consuming,
right?
And we're going to put it away in a food bank somewhere, to feed the homeless in San Francisco. What?
I have a feeling that we might need that food sooner than we think.
True, but surplus food, okay, there's economic downsides to that. Yeah. I know prices will lower, but they will go higher in the long run because this is upsetting supply and demand again.
Right.
We're saying, grow all you want, we'll buy it, whether there's a market for it or not. Okay, at some point, that can't continue.
Right.
And farmers, we've got to get out of this subsidy business. Mm-hmm. And we're paying farmers not to grow things. to keep food prices artificially high. We're corporations are the ones getting like 90% of the subsidies. It's total corporate welfare.
Yeah, it's the big farms. It's the,
Yeah, of course, the little farm, screw you. Just like the little business, you don't contribute to political campaigns. You know what I mean?
Unless you're a minority who owns a farm.
Even them, I don't think they get too much.
Did you finish? There's a debt relief program for farmers from minority groups.
I did not
but
read
not
it.
for white people.
Oh,
you have to be a minority group farm
I did
owner
not read that
to be
part.
part of the debt relief program.
It's in the same freaking paragraph that I didn't finish.
You got too upset at the first half of the paragraph.
I went too bonkers that I couldn't. Isn't that typical of me, though, Jay?
It's all right.
Well, I'll tell you who else is excited. The League of Minnesota Cities.
Ooh. Yeah, listen to our last podcast, number 202.
You can stand it.
If
I mean, we're good, but if you can stand the content.
Fine advocates, you are. That's
the coronavirus. Here's what the league calls it.
Okay.
The Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Fund. The package. I just love saying that. We're privy to the package. Provides federal aid for all 19,000 municipal governments across the country. And then they go on to say some of what we said already in a little bit more detail. Here are some details. Funds will be released in 2 payments to local governments, with half following the enactment and half paid 12 months after receiving the first payment. So they're not getting the money all at once. This is a 2-tiered thingamajig here.
Yeah.
This is League of Minnesota Cities. The title of the article is President Biden signs American Rescue Plan before he falls asleep for state and local governments, and then he punched out for the week. There will be no minimum population threshold for the payments, but non-entitlement distributions will be capped at 75% of the pre-pandemic budget. Huh? So that township of 5, where 3 of the 5 people are on the township council, the other one's the clerk and the other one's the treasurer,
Right.
are getting something. Capped at 75% of the pre-pandemic city budget. So does that mean that the most you can get is 75% of the budget? Or am I reading that backwards, that it's 25%? Not very well worded.
No. Let's see. There'll be no minimum population threshold for payments, but non-entitlement distributions will be capped at 75%. Yeah. So the distributions will be capped at, it won't go above 75% of the pre-pandemic city budget. You get 9 months worth of money.
So I'm interpreting it right. If you have $1 million in your budget, you can get $750,000 in aid.
Yes.
Or you
Up
can get.
to. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yes.
Why aren't we getting a big property tax cut then?
Well, we should. I mean,
Oh,
if
no,
they're
no,
getting
no, no.
9 months of money to operate, I don't need my money for 9 months.
Funds can be used to replace lost revenue. Funds can be transferred between jurisdictions or to nonprofit partners. Wow. So Crystal and Plymouth could do a little trade. Maybe they can trade for cash considerations or something. Maybe Crystal can trade Renee Bowman to Golden Valley for a player to be named later or something, right? You could do some deals. Seriously.
That wouldn't be a bad trade, although I'm afraid we'd get Jillian
Golden Valley would
Rosenquist.
come out on the short end. Maybe you can trade from jurisdictions and to nonprofits. We could give, you could give David Cummings to a food shelf and get, hey, Bob, come on, that's a nonprofit. We'll trade him for some canned goods. They can have Fabio. What's so funny? John Elder.
I'll take a couple cases of canned carrots.
Maybe New Hope will send John Elder to a buffet in Maple Grove or something. And I don't know. There is
in return for a bond to be named later.
So here's some additional details, Jay. Other provisions of the law of importance to cities include a federally financed COBRA subsidy that is available for 6 months for eligible individuals. Of course, not to lower our costs, though. Of course, to lower government's costs.
Right.
$25 billion in emergency rental. Where's that going to? Well, you don't pay your rent, so now we're going to give you free money? How about the people who are paying their rent? Mm-hmm. What do they get?
Nothing.
Of course.
Yeah.
$15 billion for small business emergency inquiry disaster loans.
Injury disaster loans.
That's what I said, inquiry.
Yep.
$25 billion for grants to bars and restaurants to meet payroll and other expenses. Grants. Mm-hmm. Why don't they just give it to the bar and restaurant? Why are we giving it to local government first?
Maybe they feel they know their areas better and can dole it out more equitably.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the way to go. Funding for coronavirus testing, contact tracing, and vaccine distribution. Tell you what, if we aren't doing that by now, okay, we ain't gonna do it. I mean, what? Even the New York Times admits everybody be vaccinated in a couple of months. What do we need to spend all this money on contact tracing for? If we haven't done it in a year, then there's just no point in it.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, it's just a joke. So, I mean, there's all this. I don't even want to go through it, all this additional garbage. But I'll tell you what. This stuff really needs to be watched because I'm still confused on where the CARES Act money went last year. I'm still not clear on that bill in December that President Trump wouldn't sign, and then the defense bill that he vetoed. It was passed over his veto. Of course, Biden won't veto anything. I mean, where did all that money end up? Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, it's...
Well, the league is giving a free webinar today at noon.
Oh, okay.
Oh, we missed it.
Well, I got a DeLorean out back. We can go...
I mean, good thing it's at a time when most working people could attend.
Exactly. Noon on a Tuesday. I mean, Jay, even you can't attend that. Or couldn't.
No.
So, I mean...
I work.
Yeah. Most of us work for a living. We can't attend a noon web. Why don't they just put it on YouTube? Just watch it at your own... I mean, what kind of... Well, the league's like Biden. They punch out at 4. I mean, you know... but I'll tell you what, we've only begun the corruption with all this. I mean, Jay, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to make a prediction right now that we're going to find out years from now where this money actually went. Because it's so much money doled out and passed so quickly.
Yeah.
Like I said, 1 year, $5 trillion in, quote, COVID relief.
Yes.
Doing everything except letting the economy just... do what it does.
Yeah. Opening up and letting people work and bring it back.
And stimulate the economy. And that's how you create wealth. Mm-hmm. I mean, I want to follow where this money for schools goes. Yeah. I want to follow that.
I would like to see if it goes into some of this new racial equity curriculum, if it goes into some of these new programs.
It's the only thing schools do nowadays.
Yeah.
They don't teach math. Math's racist.
Right.
They don't teach history because that was founded by a bunch of slaveholders. All it is the victim culture.
Yeah, well, they got the new history curriculum, and they got the new civics curriculum.
Yeah, that started in 1990. The history of them started in 1990.
Yeah.
You know, anything before that, we can't talk about. It's censored.
Right.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to break into some school and play Dukes of Hazzard DVDs in front of the class. That's what I'm going to do. Somebody can ask what the war between the states was.
Yes.
But I'll tell you, the only thing this pandemic has helped is government bureaucrats and large corporations.
Yes.
I mean, the gap between the so-called rich and the so-called poor, and I don't like using terms like that because I sound different than how I mean it. But the gap, the opportunity has done nothing but widen. It's way worse than it's ever been. And there's no way government's going to dig us out of it. The only thing that can happen, and this takes time, is that our freedoms get restored and we dig ourselves out of it.
Right.
I mean, ultimately, that is the solution, and that's the opposite of where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
But we got to keep an eye on this money. I mean, I want to know. I want Hennepin County to lay out where this $245 million is going.
Good luck on that.
Well, but I mean,
they have to produce some sort of balance sheet at some point.
I don't know that they have to specifically, though, put that money in a bucket. Because if they're allowed to put it in the general fund, it goes anywhere. It goes to transit, it goes to housing, it goes to health and human services, it goes to toilet paper. I don't know where it goes. But,
toilet paper would be a capital expense.
Yeah, but again, I mean, if you're going to get all this money, instead of my taxes, I want my taxes gotten rid of, lowered, and eliminated. I mean, it isn't fair.
Use it to help us. I mean, if this is supposed to be help America get back on its feet, then help Americans get back on their feet.
Not going to be used for that. What do you want to bet? What do you want to bet come to the end of the year? Everybody's got a nice big fat raise down there at Hennepin County.
Oh, I'm sure.
One big fat raise.
And here's why I don't think we'll ever really find out what's in all of this. Because by the time so much is coming at us so fast. You look at this, you look at H.R. 1, you look at H.R. 127, you look at the Equity Act, you look at all these other things that they're starting to cobble together, that this is designed to be an assault on our senses so that we can't keep up with the legislation, it's already impossible to read because it's all lawyer speak and it's all in look at this section of the U.S. Code and substitute that for that and then go here in the U.S. Code. And nobody can figure this out. But yet, if we don't put the brakes on, here's what we're looking at. Before we start to research and figure out where all of this went, they're going to have another one. And they're going to have another one. And they're going to have another one. And it will be 3 rescue packages down the line, and we're going to forget about this one.
Speaking of that, by the way, it is rumored that the president is going to come out with the largest tax hike since 1993.
That's what I heard, yes.
That it just kind of leaked out, I'm sure intentionally, over the past couple of days. So you're right. They're going to move on to the next thing. Everybody's going to get their $1,400 and rejoice.
And then give it back in taxes.
And then move on just like we did before. Just move on to the next thing, move on to the next thing, move on to the next thing. So
right.
We're not going to move on.
No.
Okay, we're going to find out where the hell this money went. And all of this money, if you go back to the CARES Act, we went through this in December, Jay, when the bill that President Trump went ballistic about and what was in there and so on and so forth. That bill was half the size of this bill.
Absolutely.
Half. Yeah. So 2 bills that size in the last 90 days, not to mention the one last spring. So, and another thing, like the aid, and we mentioned this on a previous show, I don't remember which one, the aid is distributed by unemployment numbers. That's the formula.
Right.
So and there's governors that have gone bonkers about this. Governor DeSantis probably the loudest, even though he's not wild about the bailout period.
Right.
But of saying that states that have shut down or states that have opened up, figured it out, haven't been hit as hard, whatever the reasoning, are getting punished. New York is getting more money than Florida. Florida is more populous than New York. But since New York's been shut down by the government's getting rewarded for shutting down. So it is dubbed a blue state bailout, and it is absolutely the truth.
Mm-hmm.
That South Dakota is sitting at a 3.7% unemployment. That's good in the best of times.
Yeah.
3.7%?
That's really good.
I mean, there's natural unemployment, just seasonal and cyclical, and
Right.
0% unemployment is impossible with some certain factors. But they get punished for it because of that, which is just absurd. So it's just another incidence of government helping their friends.
Yeah, rewarding bad behavior.
Yeah, rewarding failure. Mm-hmm. So, what's your prediction on California? I'm just kidding. We never got to this previously. What's going to happen to good old Gavon over there?
Oh, he'll be gone.
He'll be recalled and replaced by what?
Well,
I mean, look, he's bad, but you can do worse.
Yeah, that's true. I know the former mayor of San Diego's in the running.
Sonny Bono?
No.
Oh.
Not Sonny Bono. I don't think he's around. Didn't he die from hitting a tree? Yeah. Well,
he was in Congress when he died, wasn't he?
I think so.
Yeah. I remember that.
How, and let me ask this. I don't know. You probably don't have an answer, but how are you Sonny Bono? And you're a Republican in the Congress, and you're married to Cher, who is crazy left as they get.
Well, they were married. I mean,
right.
They divorced along in
I
the
suppose
late 70s,
true.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
maybe he changed in his views since the 70s.
Well, it could be that they weren't very political then, too. I don't know if Cher was.
Different day and age, wasn't
I mean, I think young people back then, I think Sonny and Cher were into singing. They were into wearing Hawaiian-looking clothes. They were. Then you get older and you become parents, and you get more serious about stuff, and then I think maybe that's where the. I mean, Sonny and his.
I blame Chaz.
I mean, I don't think Mary Bono, his wife who replaced him, was Republican. I use air quotes, but she certainly wasn't as conservative as he was.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just, maybe at the time they just weren't that political, or maybe they just didn't care. If they disagreed, they disagreed. I mean, it was just, you think that would be hard. But
it would be in this day and age.
It would be, but I tell you, my wife and I pull it off because my wife, as great as she is, is very independent thinker.
Yes.
I don't dare tell her what to think. She doesn't tell me what to think either. But we just kind of if we disagree about something, we just let it go. And we talk all the time about stuff. She listens to the show, of course.
Yeah.
So, I can understand how it could work. I don't understand how Mary Matlin and James Carville, my president, my party, I don't understand how that works.
No,
but,
me neither.
I mean, you got Elmer Fudd.
But what I am glad about is that your wife agrees with me all the time, and that's what's important.
I'm going to tell her you said that.
Yeah.
Hope you're listening, hon. Episode 203. She'd probably listen to you over me. I'll say that.
Who could blame her?
Well, I don't. No. I mean, she knows me too well.
That's true. Oh.
Well, anyway, we're going to keep an eye. Look, we're going to do follow-ups on this, Jay, and keep our eyes on it. But look for your local government, your school district, your county, your city, your township, your soil and water guy, your county attorney, your dog catcher, whatever, to get some free money and, again, move the baseline. That's another thing that concerns me is moving the baseline.
And here's what I would do if I were you. Go to your local city, their website, and you could flat out ask them. I mean, couldn't you, Andrew? I mean, just flat out ask them, hey, when do you think you're getting this money? When are you guys going to have meetings discussing how you're spending this money? You could ask them, and they may go, I don't know. Or maybe they'd tell you if they're honest. But definitely watch like if they publish their city council packets, their county packets before the meetings. Watch a few meetings, see if they start discussing it. Of course, it'll probably hit their work sessions before it hits their other city council meetings. So it helps if you know somebody on the council that you can kind of trust to ask them, hey, so when are you getting this, and when are you guys discussing what you're going to do with it? And
Well, keep in mind, they don't have to answer that question right away, because if they're getting one set of money this year, a different set of money next year, they don't have to put it in their budget technically until the summer.
Right.
And then in September, when they set a preliminary levy, and then you got time and trying to sift out what they can and can't do.
And they're going to get some federal money and some county money, it sounds like, and they
would
not
also
come together.
I would also, I hate to say this, but I would also include city staff on this.
Right.
Your council member may not know what the plans are. There may be no plans. The cities might be assuming that if they're smart, they assume they get nothing.
Right.
And try to figure it out on their own first. Mm-hmm. Or they take the money and they do what we always teach people to do with extra money: save it for something so you don't have to bond for something.
Wow.
We don't have to borrow in the future.
That is what we teach, isn't it?
That's one of the things we definitely
when
teach.
you do get LGA, put it away for a rainy day.
Right. Your core services should not be dependent on another unit of government. You should be self-sustaining.
Yes.
So those conversations, maybe a good time to have that conversation right now. Mm-hmm. But I think you're right. I think members of county boards and city councils and school district boards ought to be asked about this. But quite frankly, it will be staff that steers the discussion. It'll be staff that's another thing about these entities, is they need to take control and say, look, we're going to tell you how we're going to do something, not wait for you to come to us with all your little pet projects.
Right.
Because we know that's what's going to happen. Oh, we've always wanted to have, an extra water slide at the pool.
Right.
Now's our chance to get it. So there's got to be some of that also. So
yeah, you got to watch out for that with this money, because it's not what it's intended for. And if you're not getting people at the city who are shooting straight with you, you can always file, and it's called different things in different places locally, but the equivalent of what's a Freedom of Information Act, where they have to turn over conversations that they've had with, whether by email or what have you, pertaining to any subject. And so you can say, I want to see all the communication on the COVID Relief Act that was just passed, as far as what this, the discussions that are happening with the city. And by law, they're supposed to get you those.
Right. They have to. They have to publicly disclose that. So. All right. Well, Jay, it is getting on that time again.
Is that so?
Where let me get the cue the music here.
Yes.
My phone's being slow.
Well, that's all right. It'll give you more time to think about how to introduce me properly.
Well, I pretty much do it the same every time, don't I?
More or less.
Once again, my friends, Community Solutions presents the Master of Disaster, the King of Sting, the Rick of Flair, the Roddy of Piper. The women love them, especially the women over 75. The men want to be them someday, but not right now.
Wow.
I'm just jet flying, limousine riding, wheeling, dealing, son of a gun, with our sign-off sermon, the inspirational words of Jason Bradley.
Thank you, Andrew. Well, here we are, a year down the road. That's right. I mean, we just passed the 1-year anniversary of when everything got shut down. And here we are, still in some odd limbo where a lot of things are still kind of shut down. A year. One full calendar year. We're all a little older. Hopefully we're all a little wiser. That the government is more than willing to take what they can when they can. They don't really care about your personal finances. They don't really care if you can put food on the table. They don't really care if your business stays open. And what they care about is your worship, about power, about being able to show that they can control you. You jump when they say so. You ask how high. They say shut down, you shut down. They say you stay in your home, you stay in your home. But I think there's a growing number of Minnesotans that just does not fly with. Now, I want to be on record. We've been on record since the beginning of this thing. I guess at the very beginning, we don't like it, but let's see what happens till we understand this. And it didn't take very long for us to get to the point where, okay, things need to open now. This is going in the wrong direction. This is a scam. We need to get things open. And you know what? The science behind it has proved that out. That the places where people are out shopping aren't any worse than the places where people are locked up all day. The schools where kids are going are no different than over in San Francisco and LA, New York, where they can't go to school. You have New York, which has been shut down, and you see the highest death rates in the nation. You see a place like South Dakota. Yeah, it's more sparse, but they didn't shut down. They've been able to operate business. They shut down certain things for periods of time as they needed to, and they managed their own business, and they did a fine job. It's got to be up to every state to figure out what works for them, but to curb liberty, to curb freedom, and to say, no, we're going to hang on to this, and to not give people metrics, and to not show people, okay, if we get from here to here, I think we're in a place where we can change things. I mean, it's ridiculous. Walls and his magical dials standing behind the curtain like the Wizard of Oz. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain as he's turning this lever and turning that knob. And, today I'm going to throw a dart at a dartboard, and guess what? Hunting stores can go up to 65% capacity as long as it's not a Thursday and there's a cloud in the sky. There is really no rhyme or reason to what these folks are doing. And it's all about control. Controlling you. And we see it. All of these executive orders that are being signed by President Biden, he's not going to the American people and saying, here's what I'm going to do. He's just doing it, and then he's sitting in his big old house on the hill, and you're lucky if you ever hear about it. Meanwhile, we've got infestation of COVID going down at the border, and those people are being shipped all around the country. If these people say they care about COVID, they want you to stay out of your business, they want you to stay home, they want you to not get together in groups, but yet they're taking people, 100,000 people that have come over the border just recently, and they're shipping them wherever they want to go on buses across the United States. You tell me you're serious about this? You're not serious about this. You can be less serious about this. You're putting the American people at risk every day. If this is something we're supposed to fear, which is it? Are we supposed to be afraid, or are we supposed to just go make it happen anyway? No, because we'll get fined $10,000 if we open our business. As a musician, I have been out of work since, October? For the most part. I mean, thank the good Lord for my job here that I have, where I get to worship and lead others in worship. If it weren't for that, nobody would be hearing a note I sang or a note I played, and what would I do? You know, I've had to find other ways to make money. And I'm not alone. I'm not saying this for poor me, but there are other people just like me that all they've wanted to do is pursue the thing that is near and dear to them. To be able to make a living, make their own way in the world, feel good about what they do when they get up every morning. Because I'll tell you, people are motivated to be their own boss, feel like garbage when it's just given to them. They don't like it. They don't like it one bit. They don't like to be somebody's charity case. They want to be able to work hard and be able to make their own way, and that's being robbed from them on a daily basis by people who are guessing, or worse yet, have some sort of conspiracy as to keeping things closed down. And it's criminal. We can't have this. We can't do this any longer. This is untenable. We cannot allow this to continue. Not at all. And so that's where we, as citizens of the United States, have to start demanding answers. I tell you, I read, 2 weeks ago maybe, a letter that I had sent to our senators about the Equality Act. I got some sort of form letter within 25 seconds from Amy Klobuchar letting me know that neither her or her staffers read my letter. Thanks. Thanks for checking in, Amy. Got a letter much later from Tina Smith. And in that letter, she did not address one thing I said, except crowed about how proud she was to co-author the bill and how she felt about it, which was everything opposite to what I wrote her. She didn't pay attention to what I wrote. These people are tone deaf. These people don't care about you. And it happens at the federal level, it happens at the state level, happens at the county level, and it happens at the local level with school boards and cities. We have scary curriculum coming in where we better figure out, is it worth putting our children in public schools, or better we find a different way to do it? Scary curriculum. But these people aren't listening. They're listening to the school unions, the teachers' unions, but they're not listening to you. These people are listening to the federal government. They're listening to the state government. They're listening to other cities, counties. They're not listening to you. So what do you do about that? How do you make sure that you are able to stand during this time? Because if you don't stand, it's all going to be taken from us. And you will have nowhere other to look just other than in the mirror. And ask yourself, are you doing everything that you can to preserve the American way of life? That's why we're here. Because we don't want a future like the one that they're proposing. We want to be able to hand a future to our children, our nieces, our nephews, our grandchildren, that is going to be better than the one that we have today. Are you willing to give up a little comfort to make sure that your children, your grandchildren, your nieces, your nephews have it better? That's what it comes down to. We don't need 100% of you to win, but we do need people. A mere 2% of you that believe like we do out in the state can change everything. Everything. But we're not even close to 1%. And that's scary. Not even 1%. If we would just wake up and do what we know is right, we could turn this thing around within a couple of election cycles. So please consider getting involved. This year, if you don't have local elections this year, get on an advisory commission. It's entry-level governing. You're able to give recommendations for or against legislation that the city government, the school board, the county board is looking to take up. And you can build a resume for yourself so that if you feel like running, even if you don't, it's an awesome thing for you to do to get involved. It's a way to serve your city, serve your county, serve your school district. But if you are looking at running, this is a strategic thing for you right now. Get on an advisory commission. And then if you do have local elections this year, we need to talk. We need to have a little powwow, if you will, because we can help you. Otherwise, spread this information everywhere. Make it go to the furthest corners of the state. They need to hear about it up in War Road, up in Grand Portage, down in Worthington and Pipestone and over in Wabasha, down in Austin. We need to make it go far and wide. And we can do that. From every little place like Deer River, big old metropolises. Maybe not Minneapolis and St. Paul, but we can make them hear our voice if we come together. Our voice can reverberate off those empty skyscrapers they got sitting there. We can show them a better way. Because I tell you, when you start seeing success somewhere, other people are going to want that. So be an example. Get a hold of us if you're interested. Give us an email. Let us know. COMMsolutionsMN@gmail.com. That is COMMsolutionsMN@gmail.com. That's your assignment. I'm waiting right now to receive your email. All right? Why? Because we love you, Minnesota. And now it's your turn to get to work.